Beat Saber meets Binding of Isaac. Guitar Hero meets Enter the Gungeon. DDR meets Spelunky. These are the ways I would best describe one of the most unique indie games I've ever played. Introducing Crypt of the Necrodancer, a roguelike rhythm dungeon crawler where you are a... Today I'll be diving into the crypt, and by the end of the video placing Crypt of the Necrodancer on our ever-growing tier list. When I said the game was DDR meets Spelunky, I wasn't even lying. In Crypt of the Necrodancer, all your actions, whether it be moving, attacking, or using an item, is attached to the beat of the game's soundtrack composed by 9 artists. Staying on the beat grants you a better coin multiplier, which will aid in your ability to gather better weapons and items. The game starts you off with only a handful of simple to read enemies, but the deeper you get into each zone, the handful turns into an overwhelming army of complicated foes. But remember, not only are you but your enemies as well. Each enemy has a pattern on how they will attack you, so on top of keeping track of the rhythm, you'll have to keep an eye on attack patterns of the various monsters. During your crawling, you can gather diamonds in which you can use to purchase permanent upgrades for your character, or items to add to your random item pool. The items in the game are standard for any roguelike, but I don't think there was enough variety like in other games in the genre. About halfway through the third zone, I ended up buying all the items from the lobby shop, which made me throw out many diamonds afterwards, since there wasn't much use for them afterwards. You can also use the diamonds to unlock sections of the main lobby, which is mainly used for practicing against enemies. I never found a use for these extra practice rooms, as I just wanted to keep slamming my head against the zones until something stuck. I found that each zone became exponentially harder than the last, which really broke my impression about the game that it was a simple concept, therefore a simple game. Don't get it twisted, this game is difficult. On the range of poorly made difficult to fair but fun difficult, I'd ranged somewhere in the center. During the later half of the game, I found myself almost playing through as a perfectionist and really relying on the RNG of the procedurally generated levels to give me a better weapon than the default dagger. The early zones are really good at teaching you the basic movements of the enemies, but the later levels start getting really overwhelming as the screen gets really busy with the amount of animation on it. Some enemies have too subtle of animation to read them, which granted me a few restarts that didn't feel like my fault. It happened to me so many times, I started to think about the poor game design. The gameplay kind of boils down to one wrong move and your run is finished, which I really don't appreciate in a roguelike, but I think that's just a personal gripe. Rhythm games are built on good soundtracks. Luckily, Crypt of the Necrodancer's music is catchy and addicting, mainly because each zone tackles a slightly different genre, and that means a different rhythm is represented, which then mixes up the gameplay. After playing the game for a long session and leaving to go do something else, I found myself subconsciously doing everyday activities at a consistent beat. Playing the game on PC grants you a feature of uploading any music you want to the game and playing with its beat. Surprisingly, this feature is built really well, and can find the beat of any audio file you give it. I used it for a nice change of pace after some frustrating runs. The story of Crypt of the Necrodancer is nothing special. Not that it needs to be, as the gameplay speaks for itself. The main story follows Cadence, who decides to gather courage to find her missing father. She digs in a gravesite and falls into the underworld, where the Necrodancer curses her, which causes her heart to beat into the musical rhythm. After you complete each zone, you get a brief cutscene detailing the next story beat, and by the end of the Cadence playthrough, the story wraps up pretty well. Now as you play through the game, you'll unlock different characters, and the cutscenes change the perspective of the character you play as. With the rare addition of fully voice-acted cutscenes, I'd say the scenes are a good reward for finishing a zone. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a textbook success story for any indie game, still being talked about 7 years later after release. If you're a fan of the roguelike genre like I am, you'll surely love being while vibing to an amazing soundtrack. Generally, I wish there was more items and more ways for the player to feel powerful, other than growing their own personal physical skills. The game also gets frustrating at times due to some poor game balancing and subtle animation. I'd love to see a sequel to the game where it really leans into the larger variety of enemies. Now, if only they could mix this gameplay with a Nintendo property. Crypt of the Necrodancer digs itself into A tier.